Guru Nation, welcome back to another episode. It's been like these podcasts have been hard, Vita. I've been busy. It's been hard to sit down and do an interview. I've just been doing the quick videos because of running the site, but I finally hired two coordinators. They finally know what they're doing. And if they don't, it's my fault, but they mostly do. And so it frees up some time like this. Like Vita, and I apologize. We've rescheduled this podcast so many times, and that's my bad. It's just very
No problem.
chaotic. Until very recently, it's been very chaotic, but now it's a little more stable. So Vita Milani, thank you so much for coming on. Vita is somebody who did the CRA Academy, but that's not why she's on. I mean, that's cool, but that's not why she's here. She's here because her background is journalism. Her background has nothing to do with science. And now she is, for a big CRO, an assistant CRA, and on her way to be a CRA very soon. And you've done this all in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, you did the CRA Academy. When was it? 2020?
It was January of 2021.
Oh, January
So,
2021.
right.
Wow.
January of 2021 is when I started the academy. I graduated, I think it was April. I got a position at the site in May. And meanwhile, I was applying to the big CRO while I was at the site level here. I'm in Atlanta. So I was applying to the big CRO, working at the site. Meanwhile, I was a research assistant. So I just went ground level.
Yeah.
And then got a call from the big CRO about becoming a CRA. But I had the interview and they said, we don't feel like you're quite ready. So I was a little bit bummed about that. But they offered me a remote site monitor position. And of course, I jumped at the opportunity for that because I thought if I can get my foot in the door, then, the sky's the limit from that point.
That's
So
all you got to do.
that's what I did. Right.
But okay, all right. Let's back up a lot. But
Mhm.
the last thing you said, remote site monitor. Did you? Was that the first time you heard of this role? Like when they offered it to you?
Yeah,
See,
I
guys,
didn't
all you're
know.
thinking about is CRA, CRC. You're not thinking. You don't know what you don't know. I don't know how else to
Yeah,
articulate this.
that's so true. So true. I mean, if you can just get your foot in the door in any way possible, I mean, do it. If it's especially if it's at the company that you want to be at, this was the company that I really had my mind set on. So when they called, I was really ready to jump on anything. Of course, I wanted to be the CRA. But they didn't feel like I was ready. Honestly, I wasn't ready myself. So I think they had a good assessment of that.
Hmm.
And so coming in as a remote site monitor, I have learned so much. Like it's an
Hmm.
invaluable experience. I'm so grateful for it. I'm on two studies, so I have I so with the CRO, basically they just place you with a study that they're in need of. So it's just kind of like luck of the draw. So I actually got an oncology study right away,
Ooh,
and then
nice.
yeah, it was nice. And then I'm on a rare disease trial. So and so you have a utilization, it'll be like 70%, 30%, and that's how it is. So I'm 30% on the oncology trial. I only have 4 sites that I deal with. And then I'm 70% on the rare disease, and I have 14 sites. And I did at one point have 21 sites, but a few of them got handed over to another RSM. So
And
yeah.
I know a few RSMs. Ashley Margot, a good friend of mine, she actually helps all the CRA Academy students with their resumes. I think she started right after your class, Vita. I don't know. Did she do your CV?
She didn't do my CV.
Okay. Was
Yeah.
it me?
No, nobody did it. I did it myself.
Wow, Vita,
I should have had you guys do it.
it's okay though
I did it
because
myself.
I mean we'll do it for you, but
Yeah.
that fact that you did it yourself says a lot. That it's okay that
Yeah.
you take initiative. Um, well, let's go back, but maybe
Mhm.
before we go back, like you say, you have 14 sites. So I'm curious, what do what kind of interactions do remote site monitors have with sites?
Okay, so with my CRA, I mean, with my CRO, I know a lot of companies are different with the way that they have it set up. So with a lot of other CROs, basically they have the CRA is doing everything. They're handling the study systems, they're handling the regulatory paperwork, they're handling, you know, getting all the documents that they need for the file, filing it, and all that stuff. So at my company, basically, they've broken those roles down into 3 separate roles. So I work in tandem with the CRA that's traveling, and then also a CTC, which is like the clinical trial coordinator, who does back end things for the site, and they help us with documents and filing and things like that. And then the remote site monitor, or now the assistant CRA, we come in and we do site calls. So that's really like the crux of our day, where we're having a site call depending how many times a month, just depends on the monitoring plan. So it just so happens that mine, for both of my studies, are once a month. So
Wow.
we do a site call once a month, which is only 18 calls a month.
Give me an
But I mean,
example. I'm a site. Call me. Hello, Vita. How's it
oh,
going? I'm
so
gonna
we're
put you on
going
the spot. I'll put
over.
you on the spot.
Sure, sure. So we have a template that we go over for each study, and that's determined by the monitoring plan. So we go down the same template. We're talking about the subjects that they have. We're really drilling down into enrollment numbers. We're
Mm.
drilling down into the screening process. We're talking about the patients that have been randomized already, if they're on the dosing schedule, if they have any like skills and things that they need to do. We're looking at the labs that they've been sending in. So every single thing pertaining to the study, except for looking at patient data. So we're
Okay.
just making sure the site is doing everything that they need to do. We're looking at open queries, asking them to go ahead and close them while we're on the call, and then sending regulatory documents, because the traveling CRA, so basically the way that our company has it set up basically is that we are the RSM, or the assistant CRA is the first point of contact. So they reach out to us because the traveling CRA is on the road. So, and if we don't know the answer to whatever their question is, we will send them to the correct person. So we'll send them to the CTM, or we'll send them to the CRA, or,
Mm.
most times, most often we can answer that question. So it's a lot of like, not only just doing the site calls, but we're also doing managing documents for the site. And that's a big thing. Like, we're looking at open findings. We're trying to close the findings that we can. A lot of findings can only be closed by being on site. So we handle the ones that are outside of that realm.
Are these
And
findings like
then
source finding or regulatory?
no, no, like just open findings, like they could be regulatory. It can be like if they're implementing a new protocol amendment, then we need to see that
Okay.
they have implemented that amendment. If we need to check records on site, like French's temperature logs, things like that, IP temperature logs and stuff. So those open findings we do go over on the call. We aren't able to close all of them, but we do touch on it and see, which
Mm.
findings we can close, and expired documents and things like that we collect.
And do you get involved in the IRB portal? Like, do you see
Hmm.
like what's in there? So I have a gripe now that I had like a 10-year break where I was, so from 2005 till 2012 maybe, I was like
Hmm.
hands dirty being a coordinator. And then from 2012, 2013 till last year, so like 7, 8 years, I was just supervising people. Like, I didn't get my hands, I didn't know any password to any portal. I didn't do anything. I just made sure we got studies, we got patients. Now I'm back in there, and these IRB portals, they really
Oh,
annoy me. All right.
yeah,
Today
it's
I
a black
logged into
hole.
one. It's a nightmare. I
You're right.
logged into one, the big one.
Hmm.
There's only like 2 big ones. The one of the big ones.
Hmm.
I logged in. I'm like, here's the actual thing. Okay. I was looking, we have to buy a fridge for a new study.
Hmm.
So I was like, I think the fridge needs to be between 2 to 8 Celsius. I think, from what I
Hmm.
remember, we didn't even start the study yet. So let me just double check before I buy this fridge. So I went in the IRB portal. I can't find it. I found every single thing that the sponsor submitted. Like, here's the certificate that we submitted a translation in Spanish for this questionnaire. Here's like a social media ad certificate. I need the freaking protocol, Vita. I can't find this thing in there.
I know, and I feel the same way. So we use the same IRB for both of these studies actually, and it is like a black hole. But
Why is it so
the
bad?
I don't know. I think the good thing with us though is that someone else really handles that. So it's another team that handles like it's like the country approval specialist. We have a job role that with that title, and so they handle a lot of those things. But yeah, it is difficult when you go in there. It's hard to find what you need. A lot of times, it's just easier to get it from the site if you can, if they're working with the central IRB. So
Yeah, no
good luck.
kidding. Good luck. So I bought the fridge
Yeah.
based off of what was in here, like my
Oh,
memory.
so
That's
was it
how
the right
efficient it
thing?
is. I don't know. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. I still haven't found the protocol. Um,
Okay.
yeah, that needs to change. Like you should be in there and just find the most important documents first. We don't need certificates that something's been submitted. I don't need all that. I don't need 200 things. Like a banner
Right.
ad. Here's a here's the bottom of the banner ad approval. Here's the sidebar. We're not even going to use those
Mhm.
things. I don't need any of that. I need protocol. I need informed consent. I need it right in front of me when I log in. That's all I ask for. Sorry,
I
that's a
hear
rant,
you.
Vita. Sorry, sorry.
Yeah.
Uh, wow. I need someone from IRB on this podcast soon. Um, okay, so let's go way back, way back. Georgia State University, right? Bachelor's
Way
journalism.
back. Yes.
Way back. All right. When did you first hear about clinical research?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I have a family member. I have a couple of family members actually now that are in clinical research, but back then, my cousin worked for Emory in their clinical research department. So that was the first time that I had ever heard about clinical research. And she was doing, I think she was doing like depression studies. She was in the psych department. So her
Okay.
degree was in psychology, and she would always talk to me. We would talk about what we're doing, and it sounded interesting. So a little later on, so my degree was in journalism with an emphasis in public relations, and so I started doing some marketing for a clinical research office here in Atlanta.
Mm.
So that was my first taste of clinical research in general, and they were doing
Through this
Alzheimer's.
person? Through your contact?
My
Or
and well, yeah, sort of. This was one of the offices that she um this was a couple years after she worked for Emory when she became a CRA and she was traveling. This was actually one of
oh.
her sites in Atlanta.
Oh, so
And
she's like, "Hey
so
Vita, like they need help," basically.
right,
Oh,
right,
okay, okay.
exactly. So I started working in the office, and like I said, I was doing the marketing for their Alzheimer trials. And then kind of, I worked there for a bit. My career took me in a different direction. But during COVID, I think I started thinking about what I really wanted to do. And I thought, of course, we're looking at an international pandemic on our hands. And clinical research just started coming to the forefront of my mind again somehow.
Mm.
So I talked to my cousin again. I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting into research again." And she said she just always encouraged me. She told me she thought that I would make a good CRA, and that's kind of the only thing I really knew about research. I didn't know a whole lot else. Just working in the office, like I did have a lot of contact with the coordinators and with the PI, but like the back end, like working on the CRO side, I see that it's so vast. Like there's so many different things you can do in clinical research. So it's opened my eyes a lot. Um, so I decided to take your course, your CRA Academy course.
Yes.
And then I got this book. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm gonna hold it up. I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, it's the CRA's Guide to Monitoring
Oh,
Clinical
Elizabeth Weeks
Research.
Rowe, right? Elizabeth Weeks
Yes,
Rowe.
and I don't
She's
know if you
awesome.
know this, but you're in this book. I don't know if you know that. She mentions
Uh,
you in this book.
oh
And
shoot.
so I was like, "Oh, wow, okay."
I love
So
Elizabeth.
yeah, so I decided to take your class, but not only that, I put everything I had into the class. I really wanted to learn. I was reading, the CRA's Guide to Clinical Research. So
Mm.
I wanted to try to get a very well-rounded um background or a well-rounded understanding of what clinical research was. So I started applying, like I said, to the big CROs, and I had a CRO in mind that I wanted to apply, and that's the one that I ended up being with, and who I'm with right now. But they weren't calling me back, so I just went.
And that's the good one. The one you're with is
That's
the good one.
right. It is the good one. I've heard. It's good. I don't know for sure. So,
Good thing you're not at the bad one.
yes, yes. Knock on wood. So um, So I didn't know, if that was going to work out or not. Me just applying for the CRA role, just coming from a cold background of not having any research, not having any scientific or biology background or anything like that. So I decided, you know what? I heard a lot of your podcasts. You said just take anything you can get, and that was basically where I started. So I started calling. I literally started cold calling sites in Atlanta, and I was like, "Hey, are you
Wow.
looking for a research assistant or a coordinator?" And so somehow I applied for a position online, and then I called the Atlanta Center for Medical Research, and then I also emailed them. Like I was totally like
Good.
stalking them.
Well, let's
And
go with the
so,
stalking a little bit. Like,
uh-huh,
first of all, that's amazing because I give that advice and most don't do it. Like, it maybe
um,
5%. So maybe give us a little more color on approximately how many you called. What did you say? What did they say? Did they even answer? Who got back to you, like percentage wise? Because people will listen. They're like, "All right, I'm gonna try," and they call one, and nobody answers, so they're over it. They're like, "Oh, I tried. That's it. I guess it's not meant for me." Like, what did you
right.
do?
So I probably called about 20 different sites in Atlanta, and I kind of came at it from different angles. I not only called the site, but I also applied to the positions that they had online. But then I also reached out. I looked on LinkedIn onto their pages, onto the site's pages if they had a page, and then I would reach out to who seemed like the HR person. So I was like, I was not going to take no for an answer. I was just
Wow,
so
you're
basically
gutsy.
somebody called me back from a LinkedIn message that I sent. So I sent a LinkedIn message to the person at the Atlanta Center for Medical Research, and then she messaged me back and she said, "Well, apply online." I said, "I already did." And I gave her like the job ID and all that. And I said, "I would love to work there. I would love, to do anything." So she called me in and they basically said, "What's your background?" And I
Wow.
said, "Well, that's really funny you asked." I just have to turn everything into a positive. I don't ever say, "Oh, I don't have a clinical research background," and then just kind of leave it at that. No, turn everything into a positive. I said, "I came from administrative background. I did clinical research in the past." And I just kind of talked my way into that role. And she said, "Wow, you seem really enthused." And I said, "I really am." I said, "I really, really want to do clinical research again. You won't be disappointed." And
Wow,
so,
Vida. I love you even more after hearing this story.
oh,
That's amazing.
well,
So, like, what made you do that? Did you force yourself? Are you naturally this kind of person? Like, from
yeah, I'm
childhood?
kind of naturally like that. Like
Okay.
I can be shy and everything, but when there's something that I really want, especially like I really wanted to get into this field and I knew that I could do it. I just wanted to relay that if you give me a chance, you aren't going to be disappointed with my performance. Like I'm such a teachable person and I'm like so happy to be here. And so, and they were great. And so I was just a research assistant. So I'm kind of mid-career, but I went in there and there were like 19, 20-year-olds that I was working alongside. And so they were just kind of looking at me like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Hey guys, I
Oh,
just had
at the site, right?
right at the
Okay.
site." So everybody was like in college, they were finishing up their degrees and everything. And I'm just
Wow.
kind of coming in at the very, very bottom. But I just, took all of those as took all the challenges as they came, and try to learn as much as I can. And even though I was only there for 3 months, like that really gave me the foundation so that when I did go to the CRO, that I was able to talk about my experience at the site and tell them, not only do I have a certificate in clinical research, but I do have a little bit of site experience. So that helped me, I think, get in the door at the
Oh,
CRO.
yeah. What was the site experience? Was it internship or did they actually like hire you?
They hired me. So I
Okay,
was a
awesome.
research assistant. So the way that it worked at the site, the research assistants and the coordinators worked together, and they pretty much did, uh, the same job. We drew labs, we did the EKGs, we did all that stuff. So basically, we were focusing on psych studies. So um,
Psych?
we had a few
Okay.
different things, yeah, going on. So
These are college kids. To be honest, how many TikToks were going on during an average day?
actually, I never saw a TikTok being filmed. So
Wow, amazing,
yeah,
amazing. That's really
I'm
cool.
surprised.
So 3 months at this site, which sounds
Yeah,
like a relatively larger site, right? Not a
it
small one.
was.
Okay. But your experience, you liked it. You
Hmm.
you enjoyed it. Did you do like basically everything, like a little bit of everything?
Hmm. So the research assistants would run the visits, and so we would do everything. We would do some source. The only thing that we really wouldn't do, we wouldn't have interaction too much with the monitors. I did occasionally. I would like
Mm.
take the books down to the monitors, and then I actually ended up getting pretty close to some of the monitors on our studies. But we just ran the visits. Like I said, we drew labs, we did vitals, we did things like that. I think I did like 5 different studies, ranging from like schizophrenia to you
I
know
love schizophrenia.
depression and things like that. So it was an inpatient hospital. So it used to be the center that they worked out of used to be a hospital. They turned it into a research facility. So we had inpatient. So upstairs would be the women's and the men's floors. We would go up there. We
Wow.
would check on our patients, and it gave me just a great. It just gave me so much invaluable experience. I loved it, and so it was a little bit of a challenge going into work from home because I love to be out. I love to be talking to patients, to people, and I'm a sociable person, but I've gotten acclimated to it.
Man, those inpatient, you're taking me back to my early days. I started in psych, and my
Mm-hmm.
first study as a coordinator was an inpatient psych. Some of those patients,
Oh,
wow. I mean,
yeah.
you're like, I have stories to tell my grandkids at some point, but I
Gosh.
kind of miss psych because here there's no, the town I moved to, Yuma, Arizona, the only psychiatry group is part of the hospital. So I can only work with independent clinicians. It looks like I won't be doing psych anytime soon here, but I kind of miss it.
Yeah, I do too. I bet. I mean, it's a great experience. I had one of the patients, he had schizophrenia. He just ran up on me really quickly. I was walking down the hallway and he ran up on me. It rattled me a little bit, but that's just the way it was. And
I had
you
a
get
guy, I was driving him and he was behind me. I was picking him up from his boarding care to go to the hospital and he was like out of it. I don't even know how this was okay, but they told me to do it. This was like '05, one of the first things I had to do when I got hired. And this guy was like right behind me, like talking to himself, and he was a little bit agitated. So I was like, just kept looking in the rearview mirror, like if he's gonna choke me out or something in the middle of the freeway. I was scared, but I learned quick like how to calm him down and just relax. You learn a lot with the psych patients.
you do, definitely.
So from there, like, did they recruit you or you were looking like actively as soon as you get to the site? Like your goal was always CRO?
Yeah, my goal was always a CRO because I saw that, my cousin was traveling. She was a CRA. Um, she made a really good salary. So that was always in the back of my mind. Now that I'm here at the CRO, I don't even know. I mean, I do want to become a CRO. I think that's kind of the jumping off place for like being a CTM or just going in so many different directions. But I don't know that I will kind of sit in that role for years, because traveling is hard and it's a lot. But I,
Yeah.
I definitely will do that at some point. Yeah.
Road Warriors,
Hmm.
CRAs. Wow. I mean,
Right.
I have respect. I'd had a few stints as like a 3 years maybe contract CRA, but I only had 3 sites and they were all in California. So I only had to fly to one. So it wasn't that like I didn't fly coast to coast or any of that stuff. I couldn't imagine. The CRAs out there are really road warriors and amazing. Like I don't know how they do it, like the full time CRAs, but so many people want to have that role because it's like the industry brand name. Clinical
Right.
research, you just think CRA for some reason, and
Mhm.
there's so many other roles. And so journalism, so it makes sense how you went now from journalism and marketing, really PR. Um, it's you knew somebody, they got you in, then it was always in the back of your mind, and then after COVID, you came back to the site. So what were you doing like in between? You said you were doing something completely different.
I was a teacher, so I taught
Oh,
children with autism,
oh, okay,
elementary
okay.
school teacher. So I've just done so many different things, you know.
But that's
But all of
important.
it helps you to prepare for, what you're currently doing. All of the skills that you do in your life. I mean, that's how I look at it. Everything is transferable. It just really depends on your outlook.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely. Ashley Margot, one of your colleagues, actually, she said the same thing. She had a student that was a ballerina instructor, and the student was telling her, "I don't know, transferable." And Ashley's like, "Yeah, look, let's break down your job."
mhm.
And then she found like 20 things as transferable skills. All of a sudden, this person had a bunch of confidence going into the interviews. So you're naturally confident person, right?
Well, I mean, I don't really know. I never really thought about that. I don't look at myself as a naturally confident person,
But you're
but
naturally like willing to go out there and say, "Hey, site XYZ," like,
you're right.
so that's
I guess I just
confidence.
don't take no for an answer.
That's
That's
good.
probably what it is. So,
I
yeah,
think
I
you'd be a
guess so.
good CRA.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I
you'd make
hope
a good
so.
CRA. All right. So, like long-term goal, you kind of alluded to CTM. It, are you still thinking like along those lines?
Um, I'm not quite sure. I was talking to my line manager the other day, and our conversation was just, what do you want to do? Because they do a great job of listening to what your needs are and pointing you in the direction and giving you the tools you need to move up. So that's where we're at right now. Just the point of looking at what all is out there. I might go in the direction of people manager. I might because I do like to encourage others. I come from a teaching background. That's where I'm most
Mm,
comfortable. And I look at my role right now kind of in a teaching way too, just like
mhm,
guiding sites and walking alongside them to be the best that they can be for the sponsor. So I just look at myself almost like a teacher. But so yeah, I don't know if I want to become a CTM or if I want to go in a different direction, but I feel like the more and more experience I get at the CRO level, I will, I'll know in my heart which direction I want to go. But I do want to become a CRA because I went to the CRA Academy.
yeah,
I have, you know,
you
pretty
get the
much
skill
my
set.
knowledge base is there. And now I'm the assistant CRA. And,
I
I
think I
feel like
remember
it's
seeing one of your IMV reports, like you've actually done IMV reports.
I don't know that you saw mine. I don't think I've done an IMB report, but,
Oh, from our
um,
internship? Okay,
yeah,
okay.
from the internship, but that's the big so we'll be looking at data. That's something we don't do now, and we'll be writing the reports and then traveling, of course, but I don't think it will be too big of a stretch or too much of a leap.
I see. As a in your current role, do you write reports right now?
No, we don't
No.
write reports.
Okay.
Mm.
I was always curious actually. I never asked Ashley about that. Um I guess it would be a good, not a bad idea to have you guys would hate it, but maybe like have the remote site monitors or the researcher, CRA assistants, not writing actual monitoring reports, but writing reports like for what you guys do, just to get, because
Oh,
I think the goal is like for these big CROs is to get you guys up to speed to be CRAs, and then they could bring the new people in and fill your role that you left. So it would make sense to have you do some of those kind of things, but there's probably a reason why they don't. They're smarter than I am over there. They know what they're doing.
well, I think that's the direction that they're going, so, with the new model that we have, becoming the assistant CRA, and then there's a remote track, and then there's a traveling track, and you can just choose which track you want
Mm,
to go down. So with the new studies that are coming up, as part of the monitoring plan, I do believe that the assistant CRAs will be doing remote visits with SDB and writing
wow.
reports. So
Wow.
that's on the horizon, but it won't be implemented until I get placed on a new study. And my study right now is one of my studies is going to 2024, and the other one, we're just not sure when that one's going to end. So for the time being, I'm basically doing a remote site monitor role.
The role that you're in is interesting because you're not a CRA or a CRC. You're like in between and you deal with both.
Right.
Who who do you enjoy dealing with more and what are the pros and cons of each? Like I know everyone's different, but there's got to be some similarities, no?
Yeah, so the CTC, they basically help us a lot with filing documents. So we work with Viva and Viva Vault. And
Mm,
so they are doing a lot of the back end filing for us. So I mean, I can't say I enjoy working with one or the other because they just do totally different things. And then on the other hand, the CRA is available. We have access to them, but in reality, we really don't talk to them that often. So whenever like I do a site management call, I might copy them on the follow-up email with the meeting minutes and everything
mhm,
included that we discussed, just so that they could be on the call. I mean, just so that they could be in the loop. And then also, like if a site is having an issue, they always email me, but they copy the CRA so that they can be in the loop. But like, so the CRA handles everything site-wise. The CTC handles everything on the back end, in our Viva Vault system, our TMF, and all that. So
so
it's mhm.
what about the CRC like at the site level? Um what's the best and worst parts of interacting with them so far?
um, well, like for instance, one of my sites just got on an SPIP, which is an improvement plan. Because they were just not being compliant. So sometimes, you do have to have those hard conversations with sites. The CRA led the call. I was on the call. I was actually out of the office, but I listened in because, it was very important that I know what direction they were going to move in. So,
Hmm.
you do have to have difficult conversations with the sites, but if a site is compliant, they're doing everything they need to do. It's honestly a joy to work with them. And I mean, all of them are really a joy to work with. It's just a matter of getting them to the point of feeling like we are there to walk alongside them. We're not there to punish them or anything like that. We're there to help them, like I said before, just be their best self.
All
So
right.
that sponsor will want to work with them again. So it
Yeah.
helps when everybody has a positive attitude. But some sites do, they just feel like, why do we have to have these calls? It's just so time consuming. So I do what I can to work around that. We have like an email transcript we can send them if they're too busy. So we try to be flexible with sites as much as possible. But at the end of the day, we do have to follow the monitoring plan and stay on track.
I think your CRO so far I only have 4 studies, and the reason I was laughing when you said that is
Mhm.
today I had to back up my both my coordinators are gone, so I had to, like, get back into it, um, and I'm laughing because well, your CRO is not that CRO, so they won't have a call with me, but, I'm laughing because we were talking earlier about me not being compliant. I couldn't find the papers. I couldn't find like the actual scales, so I just printed them from the protocol. And my CRA already told me not to do that. But
Uh-oh.
it was either do that or not do it at all. So I went with doing it.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, I'll probably have a call soon. But yeah, your CRO is my CRO for a study that's about to start. So I'm probably gonna have these. They do site calls with everybody, right? Like all those every.
For the most part. So some of them don't have, as part of the monitoring plan, they haven't budgeted for a remote site monitor. So it just depends.
Okay,
It
okay,
really depends on the study. Yeah.
all right. Well,
Most
maybe
of them
I'll report back if I do. And because I've never actually been on the other end of this call to see like what's discussed, so it'll be interesting.
do. Yeah.
All right, Vita. Well, this was an awesome interview. I think there's a lot of takeaways. And by the way, everybody go connect with Vita. She's somebody that you have to connect with. Have you started like going to conferences and things like that or not yet?
Not really, but which conferences would you recommend? I haven't
Uh,
really.
it depends what your interests are. Like the last year I've been like very science focused, not so much like what's trendy, like decentralized trial. I could care less about this stuff, but like DIA bio, like I'm really interested in the new biotech, some of the stuff. So it really depends what you're interested in. Like if you're a DCT vendor, you're obviously gonna go to they have their own conference, but you would go to like Society of Clinical Research Sites. They're talking about that stuff there. There's probably a conference, ACRP. I think that one's like a good all around one. Um, and then SOCRA. I
Yeah.
think they still have conferences, but yeah, ACRP, CRS, Bio, DIA. Those are like kind of the big ones. But it all depends on your interest. Like you might be interested in GI, and they have GI has like their own conference every year. Like Psych, Psych had NC Do, which they changed the name to something else. But it just depends like what you're interested in at the time. And that's the thing. I did a video yesterday. Like your your ambitions evolve. As you get
Mhm.
older, you can slightly change your course of your career. And the awesome thing about this industry is it's very flexible. Like, you
Good.
don't have to be like rigid, like, oh, this is like the path. And if I deviate from this, it's over. It's like, no, you can do a lot of things within this space. There's a lot of different places you can specialize in and you can change. Like most of them, transferable skills. Once you've been a CRC and a remote site monitor and a CRA, like you pretty much can do anything in the industry at that point.
So true. That's so true. And that's why I want to become a CRA because not just because that was the original direction I was going, but because it opens up the doors really just a launch pad for anything else. And I definitely want to plug the CRA Academy while I'm on here because
Yes.
that I couldn't have done it without the CRA Academy. I learned so much and then just, researching everything on my own, but that was really just a jumping off point for me to get in clinical research. So um, I really learned a lot. It really helped my confidence level. And so I'd say if anybody is on the fence about doing the CRA Academy, absolutely, you know, it's a great,
Thank you. Thank
yeah.
you. And I know you came in as a guest presenter. How did that go, by the way?
It went well. We talked to the class. The class was pretty quiet, but you and I and I think it's Chris Sauber. He
Oh
was
yeah, we
on the
were on
call.
there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My bad, my bad.
And so that was great. We all got a chance. I got a chance to tell a little bit of my story, which I told here. And I think there were a few questions, but people were pretty quiet on the call. So, but I
That was a
welcome any.
quiet class. Yeah, that was a
That was a
quiet
quiet.
class.
Yeah.
Very nice class though.
Yeah, and I welcome anybody if they ever have any questions about what I do or just anything. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I always accept friend requests, and I would definitely point you in the right direction if I know
Let's see. I
if I
have your
can.
LinkedIn here, Vita Milani. Um,
Hmm.
yes. So link will be underneath the video, and on the podcast, it'll be in the show notes. And yeah, Vita. I mean, we're gonna do more of these. It's clear to me that your career, like you can really accomplish a lot in this industry with your attitude, skill set, and just the way you go about things. I know the way you like approached me as a graduate of our academy. It's it's unusual, but in a good way. And so I think that you are an outlier in a sense, and I think that's like done your career already in a short time. Like it's done a lot for your career, and it could do a lot in the future. So just keep at it. You're doing everything the right way, I
Thank
think.
you so much. I appreciate that. That means a lot, Dan.
Yeah, it's true, Vita. It's true. So everybody go connect. Vita's going places, all right? She might be calling you. next for your next site call. So be ready. Answer the call. How may I answer their call? Can they just ignore you? Like, oh, like Vita's calling me for my site call. I'm just gonna ignore. She could call me next month. Does that
It
work?
it happens occasionally, yeah. But I tell them I have to get that call in or else I tell them they will be non-compliant, and when I use that
Wow.
word, that pricks people's ears up, so
And this is exactly why I hired CRCs. So they got to answer. Me, I don't know if I can, I'll answer it. Thank you so much, Vita. I really appreciate it. Everybody, go connect. Vita Milani. Just go connect with her. Ask her whatever you want on LinkedIn. She's very accessible, approachable, and obviously a really cool person to get to know. So thank you very much, Vita.
thank you, Dan. I had a great time.
Me too. Thank you, everybody, for watching, listening. Catch you later. Bye bye.